Hi, Craig.
It's all on you, it's all on me. Can't you see? It's all on you, it's all on me. You and me, can't you? It's all on you, it's all on me.
Hey, Craig. Right or wrong, we don't care. Win or lose, we don't care. We don't care. We don't care.
Hey, Jeff.
Hey, man.
It's Apple Cup week. And this is this is Podcast versus Everyone, episode 203. I'm Craig Powers. With me, as usual, Jeff Newser.
Yeah.
And Jeff, yeah, it's that week that like a not insignificant number of Cougs only pay attention to Coug football. The most
But not us.
self-hating people I could possibly imagine that would only pay attention to this game and
Yeah.
put all of their judgment of WSU football on this game.
On this one game.
Yes.
Yeah, those folks have missed a lot of fun over the last 10 years or so if all you've done is paid attention to this one.
Yeah. Yeah, Apple Cup week. Woo, yay. Fuck the Huskies. Fuck them.
Well, yeah,
in
that.
every which way.
Yeah, that.
But not, but yeah, and the thing about it is, this could have been like the farewell. Just
Yeah.
one last, you're leaving, so we're not playing you anymore. You're going to make more money than us. We're not playing you anymore. We sued you. We sued the Pac-12, and then you sued us, so we're not playing you anymore.
Yeah.
But no, this game's still gonna go, and WSU and UW reached an agreement to play the next year's game, 2024, in Lumen Field with a split ticket, and then alternating Seattle for the next 4 years.
Yeah.
Now, I get the logical arguments for this, which all boil down to money. It's, Pat Chun. Oh, well, I'll do that part last because that's the part that was the most annoying. I get that, the Apple Cup is a big weekend for the community of Pullman in terms of the businesses and the money it brings in. Now, I could say, is it going to be as big of a deal when WSU and UW are in the same conference? I'll say I don't think it will be quite as big as it has been, but it will still be big. Yeah, so I get that argument. I get it. I'm sympathetic to that. I get that WSU needs money, and the Apple Cup itself is a money maker. But the thing that drives me nuts is when Pat Chun comes out and says, "Well, we can make more money splitting the gate at Lumen than we'd make at an Apple Cup in Pullman." And for those of you that have followed along for a decade or since the Wolf and Moose era, we're pretty sensitive to that kind of talk because Bill Moose took the Seattle game when she did not create, but morphed it into just a non-conference game into then first taking and then it morphed into under Stirk taking our best like non-conference game and putting it there, which was annoying. And then Bill Moose took it a step further and started putting a conference game in Seattle.
Yep.
Oregon State, Oregon, Stanford.
Yep.
Just incredible. And that was just on his face was so annoying. And it was like, oh, we can get in front of donors, we can make more money. It's like, yeah, but you're giving away something special when you do that.
I mean, there's a reason why we don't play that game. We don't play games there anymore because everybody recognized that it sucks.
Yeah, it's not the same as going to a Cougar football game in Pullman. It's not even close. It feels like you're going to a Seahawks game and the Cougs are playing. Like,
yeah, and it's not an advantage for the team. Like, we have enough data. There have been enough games played there that we know, like, it was pretty rare that the team would play well in one of those games there. It's an away game. Like, I mean, you can say that the crowd is full of whatever, or in this case, in the Apple Cup, say, oh, well, it's 50-50, which it's not going to be 50-50.
It's not going to be.
Let's assume for the sake of argument it's 50-50. We have, a decade's worth of evidence that when it's 100% Cougs in the place, the team tends not to play that great. And you cannot get away from the simple fact that it is an away game for the players. It's a road trip. They are leaving Pullman. They are coming over here. They are staying in hotels. They are playing in a place that's not familiar. Like, it's all of those things. So yeah, I mean, whatever. Like, we know why they don't play the game there anymore. We know what the deal is with the arrangement. Like you said, it's a little bit of a sensitive spot, right? For Pat Chen to talk about how much money they can make versus Martin Stadium, because that's so very clearly not the point, or hasn't been the point. But I guess it just sort of underscores how much that is the point right now. Which of course just makes me more angry and more pissed off, which, anybody who read the newsletter I wrote the other day knows just how pissed off I am about this. So I just like you said, for all the reasons you said, I get it. I do get it. I understand it intellectually, and then emotionally, I think it fucking sucks. And I'm a fan. I don't have to be, intellectually on board with this thing.
And yeah, like, it's in all likelihood UW, and kind of the scuttlebutt is that UW wanted to play in Lumen every year, and Chun pushed back on that. And so there will be games in Pullman. Of course, there will be one game in Pullman from 2019 to 2024. Yep. And then basically it should have been in Pullman next year, but UW's schedule didn't work out or something. Because we have to bend to them, the team that left us in the dumpster. And so we had to make this deal. And what I'm very, very fucking tired of, and I got immediately tired of, is one, national media being like, "Oh, thank goodness! See, these teams can still make deals, and they can still get along, and they can still." Yep. It's like, that's not really the sentiment on the WSU side. There are some people, there are fans that are like, yeah, cool, playing. But there's a lot of fans that are like, fuck this, man. I never wanted to play UW again. Yeah. And like they left the conference, and in the process just fucking shot us. Like you shared the meme. They shot us in the chest. Yeah. And then they start blaming it on us. And then they have to act like it's, the fans have to act like it's some like favor they're doing playing us. It's like, fuck you. UW wanted this because they don't want to play all their goddamn games on the East Coast. Yep. And they want to have like an easy non-conference schedule. And now it's a team they already beat a lot, and then they're going to have an even bigger financial advantage over. Yeah. As if UW didn't already have a massive advantage over WSU when they were conference equals.
They won 70% of the games over the last, 100 and whatever years.
And 8 of the last 9?
Yeah. It's bad.
And I mean, 8 of the last 9, and like you said in your blog, like 8 of the last 9 when WSU had one of its best eras ever.
Ever. Not even one of, like, the best. I mean, you could say.
By the way, when WSU won 10 games in a row, 3 straight years. They didn't beat UW in any of those fucking years either.
Nope. And that's what I was gonna say. Like we could like say, okay, well the 30 wins in 3 years versus, what we've done over the last, 8 years or whatever. I mean, I don't know. I mean, people could argue that, be like, well, those 3 years were so good, they overcome the 8 years of, above average to very good, whatever. Like the point is we've been good enough the last 8 years that you would think that we would have had a little more success in that game. And, and I mean, I remember writing, I do think that some of it is just sort of dumb luck to some degree. I remember writing after the 2018 game, just sort of throwing my hands up. I tried to find that column. It was a Monday after, and I couldn't find it, or at least I didn't want to expend the time and energy to try and dig it up at Cougs Center. But I remember writing like, this is just extraordinarily bad timing, and it's extraordinarily bad unfortunate circumstances or unlucky circumstances, in that the things that we were good at, Washington was really good at stopping. Like they had NFL players in the secondary every year, and they had NFL players in the interior defensive line every year, and nothing else really mattered, right? Like they could, it was the classic, rush 3, drop 8 that everybody loved to joke about with Leach. And it's like, well, if that's all it took, then everybody would do it and everybody would shut the offense down. But that wasn't the case. We shredded lots and lots and lots of teams. It just so happens that when you have, 4 NFL cornerbacks on your roster and you have an NFL defensive tackle on your roster, it tends to make rush 3, drop 8 work pretty good, and so some of this I think is just, bad luck, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, you can't discount the resource imbalance. Fans love, especially WSU fans love to be like, recruiting stars don't mean anything. And we, it's all, what you do with them, how you develop them when they get in. No, it does matter. It matters a lot. And there's a reason why Washington has won, 70% of these games over the years is, when they are not, tripping over their own dicks, they kill us. Like, that's just kind of it. Right. And like, you look at, through most of the history where they have faltered, and it's like most of the history where we have won some games, it's where they have faltered. Right. And it's like, okay, well, how much can you expect them to falter over the next, 5 years? I mean, look, independent of this Saturday, maybe this Saturday will be different. Maybe this Saturday will be great. Maybe we'll be able to, ride off into the sunset of the Pac-12 with an Apple Cup in our hands. I mean, I don't know. We'll get to that later, I'm sure. I like, intellectually, I can talk myself into us having a chance, but after this year, it's like, there's no reason to think that they would stumble far enough to make a team with a fraction of the resources competitive in that game, right? Like, there's no reason to think, that it's going to be different. And probably the only sort of analog that we have to it is Colorado State. And, Colorado has won, 75% of those games over the years. And Colorado, except for one little blip, has really never been as good as Washington, And so it's like, I just don't have a lot of hope for it, going forward. And, I wish that we had just said, no, thanks, we'll figure it out. But I also know, it's all, like I said, it's all those intellectual reasons. It's the money, and there are people with a lot of clout at Washington State, donors, whatever, who love this game, regardless of the outcome, regardless of us getting our face kicked in every year, regardless of the disappointment, whatever, they just kind of go, ah, shucks. And, and they slap the backs of their Husky friends and they write out, whatever. Like, I recognize there's a price to be paid for caring as much as you and I do. that price is pain and sadness and depression, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, I recognize that you and we're not the only ones, had kind of detached ourselves from this game a lot recently because of that long losing streak while our team was good. And then because we sat there and listened to people say like the seasons were ruined because we lost the Apple Cup when we're winning like 8 and 9 games, 10 games. And it's like, no, the season's not ruined. You're just putting
people
too
who
much
are saying
weight on
like,
this game.
if we win 3 games but we win the Apple Cup, I'm good. And I'm like, oh my god, oh my
2008
god,
and 2012, they're dream seasons.
Yeah, dream seasons. There are people who still about 2008 are just like, that was the greatest experience ever. I'm like, okay, but like that was an objectively terrible game. Like other than the like sort of frantic, exciting ending, like it was two like horrendous offenses outside of, you know, really we had like 2 big plays in the whole game, right? We had the long Mitz touchdown and then Carstetter, you know, hauling in the pass from Lupina to you know, get the field goal that sent the game to overtime. But and then, you know, you had Washington missed like, I don't know, their kicker missed 2-3 field goals, right? Something like that. And so anyway, it was like an objectively shitty game between 2 objectively shitty teams. And it's like, I was at that game. I'm happy it was fun, but I'm also like, I don't know, man. Like I don't look back at it with like, you know, majorly fond memories, but I know there are fans that feel like, hey, as long as we win this game, but it's like, we're not going to, like, going forward. Like there's no reason to think that it's going to be even remotely competitive, you know, going forward, because it hasn't been competitive with our best teams. And so I don't know, man. Like I was, you know, chatting with another friend here a little bit ago. He's like, I still have hope. And I'm like, God bless you. Like I can't do it. I can't do it. I just, yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's me. Maybe it's some kind of psychological thing with me. I don't know, protecting myself. Maybe I'm like wrapping up in my little cocoon and being like, you know, I'm just gonna hide in my little shell so that I don't get hurt again.
I'm mad about this, and I did not want to play them, and I just wanted to flush this rivalry and just move on.
Yeah.
But I just to be a little objective here, I have to give WSU and Chung credit for getting games in Pullman still.
Yes, that is
because
absolutely.
If only because that has pissed off UW fans. Like that has like taken them down the little bit of a peg, because they're just like, why are we still playing in Pullman? This is stupid. Like, yeah. Like, and that also tells me that one, like UW maybe doesn't feel like this court case is going well for them, and they want to maybe provide some goodwill to a school that might be able to fuck them over in a little bit here.
Yep.
And 2, maybe they do realize the damage they've done and they feel a little bit bad about it. Or maybe Chud made them realize. Well, because
like I don't know, man. I don't buy that for a second.
But I do think, honestly, they want this game because it just makes their scheduling easier.
I think it's that, and I think they needed a PR win. I think they needed a PR win, and that's the one thing that kind of, I mean, well, obviously there are, sometimes I use that phrase when there are many things that piss me off, but one of the things that pisses me off is that they announced it this week. I'm like, don't announce that this week. Announce it next week. Announce it like in 2 weeks, whatever. Like, don't give them this PR win leading up to the game where people are like, oh, look at this. It's so good and so happy. I'm like, no. I want to be like, you know, fuck them so hard for the whole week. But no, now we got people. Oh, isn't this great? Kumbaya. And I'm like, no, it's not great. But yeah, I think the timing reveals that I think it's exactly what you said. I think it's they needed to finish off their schedule. and this was convenient and provided them a PR win. And I think for them, the money's not, it's just not relevant really, and then the other thing, and I maybe this is like,
because they could have hosted a game at Husky Stadium and made more money than they'll make in the Lumen Field.
And maybe this is, I don't know, but I just kind of go, would they come to Pullman if they were really afraid of losing?
No, absolutely
and
not.
I think the answer is no. And I think that tells you something about how they view this moving forward. That to them, it's okay. They're doing a risk reward calculus here, and they're going, okay, well, we play the game there. Are we gonna lose? Nah. And we still get to, build up some goodwill and look like the good guys, and whatever heat might be coming from legislators, they'll be satisfied because the game's continuing. Like, yeah, let's go ahead and do it. And I honestly think that's it. If they were afraid that it was going to be some sort of, because losing in Pullman to what is going to be a G5 team that's a season wrecker, right? Like if you have the aspirations that they do, that's a season wrecker. Okay, they're clearly not afraid of losing that game, and I don't think I would be either if I was them. So I don't know, man. I don't know how people are going to feel if we spend the next 5 years getting our faces kicked in. I don't know if people are going to feel different or the same. But I hope it doesn't happen. God, I hope it doesn't happen. I hope people kind of hear it in the vein it is. It's hard for my mind. My mind is built around probabilities. And it's hard. It's really hard for me to get away from, in any sort of calculus that doesn't include, basically 5 ass kickings. So,
yeah. But Jeff, I will say I have to point out one positive of this is something we've been begging for years is that the Apple Cup won't be played at the end of the season.
Woo! Thank God.
So the Lumen Field one will be in September, and I gotta imagine
get it out of. I gotta
imagine the other years will be played in September as well.
You would think so.
Yeah, at least we're just getting that ass kicking out of the way. We can move on with the rest of the season. It can't. Then I just ruin it gotta be that last thing that just ruins the season.
Yeah. And maybe I'll feel less bad about the ass kickings if they're happening in September. I don't know.
And so what do you, I wonder what some of the buyouts are on these games. And what if UW gets to 2025 and they're like, we don't want to do that Pullman game. We just want to host whoever at home.
Right.
And they just decide to do that instead. And how much do they have to pay us to make that game go away? Because we as WSU fans know all too well that is very possible.
Yep.
And now what one thing that I think maybe helps is I think UW is going to be getting less media revenue in the Big Ten next year than they will in the Pac-12 this year. So maybe that will if they have to pay a buyout versus how much it would be a buyout versus how much they can make having a game at Husky Stadium. So that's a big part of it. How much would they have to pay us to cancel the games? Because they could very well cancel the games. Because next year, guess what?
Especially if they lose one.
Yeah. Next year, guess
Especially
what?
Especially if they lose one.
They're not a conference. They're not a conference team. They just turn into any other Big Ten team, any other school that has bought out a game in WSU.
Yep.
And not come before. They're just that. They just happen to be closer and have a more emotional attachment. But so it we'll see how it goes. Maybe 5 more ass kickings. But let's talk about this potential ass kicking that is sitting ahead of us.
Do we have to?
Yeah, I guess. Look, the one the one thing I'm going to hold on to hope for here is that UW has not really crushed anyone since Cal. Like we're talking,
it's been a while.
2 months where they have gotten by the skin of their teeth.
Yeah, and often not. So one thing that you and I love looking at is Stats Wars. Did we really lose that badly? Chart where it's just net success rate, right? And it's it's not a perfect metric, but it's a little.
It basically ignores special teams and turnovers and anything else. It's just it is a good doing on each offensive and defensive play.
And it's a good little, quick and dirty shorthand, right? And, Washington has had some games that they've won where they have been behind on that. So, including last weekend against Oregon State, which is a game that, quite frankly, they should have lost and somehow did not. I don't know, man. Jonathan Smith, for all the press he's getting, and God bless him for building Oregon State into what it is right now. That's all him, and that's great, and I'm very impressed. But also, that dude has an amazing knack for fucking up close games. Like, we've witnessed it in our games. Yeah. Like, when we beat them in Pullman, 2 years ago or 5 years, whatever it was, where, like, I don't know, man. All the years are going together right now.
4 years.
4 years ago. There we go. Thank you.
2019.
With the Max Borghi touchdown, essentially with 2 seconds left on fourth down, I mean, in that game, he I swear to God, he lost his mind throwing the ball. And I'm like, what are you doing? You could run all day, but you're trying to get all nifty. So anyway, same kind of thing happened in this game. And I mean, they might have beat us earlier this year if they had just, run the ball and run the ball and run the ball and run the ball. So, but maybe that gives us some hope for against Washington.
The opposite is true for Kalen DeBar.
Yes.
Like, this fucker doesn't lose.
No.
He has
apparently not.
He has won 101 games and he has lost 9 in his head coaching career.
Yeah, it's insane.
I don't care where you were coaching. And also a lot of that was at Fresno State.
Yep.
Like,
yes. Please, somebody else hire him away, please.
Seriously, like, that is an insane coaching record. That's very Coach Pete-esque. Like, this is just a fucking insanely good hire that pisses me off.
Someone throw like $15 million at him and get him out of there.
Yeah, seriously.
Please.
Because like, he just wins. They should have lost to Oregon State.
Yep.
They should have lost to Arizona State. They should have lost to Oregon. They did, like, they've gotten by. They could have lost to Utah. They could have lost. Arizona was kind of weird. Arizona pulled back a bunch at the end. I feel like if that game was played now, like, say Oregon State beats Oregon, I feel like Arizona could definitely beat UW in the Pac-12 championship. Like, Arizona is playing so fucking well right now.
Yep.
Yeah, but they've definitely been vulnerable. They just haven't lost. It's been because it feels like every week I'm sitting down and be like, yes, they're gonna lose, and then they don't. It's so fucking frustrating.
Yeah,
but I mean,
this is the kind of this is the kind of stuff that gets us talking ourselves into. Well, maybe there's a chance.
Maybe they're just
they got to lose a close one at some point. They don't.
Yeah,
they don't have.
They
to
don't.
lose.
They don't. I mean, Clemson has done this a million times.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't know, man. Washington has some, like, for the last 10 years, it has felt like, and this is probably like some crazy, like, armchair psychology and has no basis whatsoever in actual, like, empirical reality, but it sure feels like they care a lot about not losing to Washington State. Like, a lot about not losing to those guys over there. And, there was a time in our school's history where it sure felt like we cared a hell of a lot about knocking them down a peg. That has not felt like the case for a long time. And maybe that's just, again, maybe that's just some bullshit, pop psychology or whatever. I'm totally open to that idea, but my God, it's hard to watch these games without thinking that. And again, maybe that's all just driven by the results, right? Like maybe you're just going, well, when you lose by 40 points, of course, one team looks like they care and the other team looks like they don't. Like maybe, but at the same time, like I will say 2018, that team, even though they lost, man, they fought tooth and nail, the snow, whatever. They definitely looked like they were up for that game. They just couldn't do it. But there were plenty of other games, under Leach where it was like, maybe this is the one time where your, play the next play philosophy doesn't really work because the other team is definitely looks like they like it would be written on their tombstone that they lost to Washington State, and they don't want that, so I don't know, man. I mean, the Huskies looked like that last year, especially after 2021. They looked like, they were not going to be the ones to, lose 2 in a row for the first time in whatever, 10 years or whatever.
Well, yeah, that game was
for 15 years.
Yeah, that game was tight headed into the fourth quarter, and UW just ran away with it.
Yep. And, so I don't know, man. It's there's a lot of things stacking up in Washington's favor, with the just emotionally, if we're just talking emotionally.
Yeah. And also talent wise and just quality of team.
Yeah. I mean, I said I thought our best chance would be
probably coaching.
All of that. I was saying our best chance would probably be if it rains a lot, but it's not going to. So
yeah.
Oh well.
So one to that point on like motivation, having a special motivation, we forgot to talk about this game that happened on Friday.
Yeah, I mean I didn't forget, but
But it was like a
speaking of ass kickings. Yeah, it was.
And honestly, I think there was just how the players were acting. They were constantly mocking Shedeur Sanders' celebration. They did not want to lose to this overhyped Colorado team.
No.
And
Colorado's gotten everybody's best shot since September. And they have not been able to handle it.
We were talking about our stats of war thing. WSU dominated success rate. Like it wasn't just the turnovers. WSU dominated success rate like no one else did this season. In this game, in this week, in any other game, WSU had the best their offensive net success rate. So their offensive success rate versus Colorado's offensive success rate, and it didn't matter even when Shedeur was in, when Shedeur was out, it didn't matter. They were beating their ass, and that was fun. Jeff and I watched it together. Well, the first half together. At my house, and you saw most of it in the first half. Of course.
Got home, started watching it some more, and then fell asleep before it ended. I missed Brennan Jackson's second touchdown. I missed Kyle Williams roasting Travis Hunter. That was
satisfying.
That was the best thing that happened in the entire game. There were amazing things all over the place, fun things all over the place. That was the most fun because Travis Hunter was talking all that shit, and then Williams just absolutely annihilated him. And Cam threw the perfect pass too on that touchdown. I think the biggest encouraging thing for me in that game, I mean, if I was, if this season was going to be a whole bunch more games, maybe I would cling to this a little bit more, but it was really nice to play a game. Not only that was well in hand the whole way, but where Cam did not have to play out of his mind for us to have a chance. Like Cam was good, but he wasn't great. Like he missed some throws. He was not great. He was good, not great, and we coasted to a win. That was really nice for once.
I feel like that's it. It does like put you in less of a pit of despair heading into the Apple Cup, because they actually got off the schneid and won a fucking game.
Yes.
And because they won it in that way, because we know that Colorado isn't very good, like if we have just squeaked by Colorado, it wouldn't have made you feel like you'd have been, thank God we won, but you'd have been like, it's not like I think we're any better than we were. But they showed that like if that defense could have easily been shredded by Shedeur Sanders, but they came out and they sacked him and we talked about it last week
and sacked him and sacked
it could
him
be
and
a big
sacked him.
like by the way, the official score only had 5 sacks. I count at least 7 just in the highlights.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the fuck they're doing. Like because I remember I said it to Emma at one point. I was like, it's got to be like our 7th sack. She's like, it says we have 5, and I was like, what? Come on. But yeah, like I guess I don't know how. Like maybe Ron Stone actually has way more sacks than we actually think. Maybe there's been a lot of sacks he's gotten that haven't been recorded as sacks. But yeah, like it was cool to see those two, Stone and Jackson, have such a huge game. Apparently, a defensive end scoring 2 touchdowns was not enough
impressive
to win the Pac-12 Player of the Week.
Not impressive. Yeah.
Yeah, like a defensive back gets interceptions. Cool. The defensive end scored 2 touchdowns. So there was one stat. There hasn't been for 20 years a player get more than 2 touchdowns. A defensive player get more than 2 touchdowns in a season, or on fumble recoveries. Sorry, and Jackson has 3, and he had 2 in 3 quarters.
Yep, that's pretty good.
That second one, 49-7, I think it was at the time.
Yeah.
He picks it up, runs it back, jumping around my living room, screaming, "He's got
glorious.
2! He's got 2!" And then someone I think commented on Twitter like, "Hey, save your other Achilles," and I was like, "Yeah, that's how it happened the first time."
It is true. It is true.
But yeah, if the defense can put that kind of pressure on Penix, then
Penix is mortal in that way, just like any other quarterback. You get some pressure on him, you get him off his spot. He's tough to, he's not a real accurate thrower at that point. He is, he's athletic and fast.
When he's rolling, when he's doing like a controlled roll, he's very, very accurate. But if he's having to,
he can run on you too. That's the other thing. He can run on you too. Like when he was at Indiana, he was like, he was sort of like, I don't want to say he was run first, throws second, but he was really known for his ability to move.
And he was not a good throw. Like his completion percentage was like was terrible. And like it's like we kind of laughed when UW picked him up, but it was like
nope. Well, apparently we were wrong about that. We look like idiots, which is not unusual. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, did anything happen in this game that like against Colorado that makes you feel differently heading into the Apple Cup? Like, because I know for me, like I don't like. I'm like,
WC
it was
didn't
great.
Turn the ball over. That was
good, and we finally got some fumble luck. Like
they can't
that
turn
nice.
the ball over. They didn't fumble either. So they got fumble. They got defensive fumble luck, and then they didn't fumble themselves.
Yes.
So Cam made one of the best throws I've ever seen him make. That it was he basically, it was in zone coverage, and he hit Josh Kelly between the safety and the cornerback on a bullet pass, and then Kelly almost took it for a touchdown. He just has such a strong arm. He can make so many good throws, and you just kind of hope that he just balls out of his mind and can make those throws, because he'll need to against UW.
Yeah.
And although I'll say UW's defense, like it's not like the good UW teams in the past. They're
not a great defense.
Yeah, they're
I mean, that
fine.
might not matter.
They're good. They're good. They're just not like the best defense in the country. They're better than our defense. Don't get mistaken there. A lot better.
But they'll give up. I mean, they'll give up yards. They're not impenetrable, you know. So
it'll come down to I think we'll move the ball sometimes. It'll come down to finishing those drives, not turning the ball over, getting a couple turnovers. Probably, if not a defensive touchdown, some turnovers that put us deep in UW territory that we cash in for touchdowns. Like, that's just, I think that's what it's going to have to be. We're going to have to hit Penix a few times, get him a little wobbly. We've seen him in some games down the stretch when he gets a little wobbly, he gets inaccurate. And so, yeah, that's just what it's going to be. Otherwise, you know, if Penix is just back there slinging like he was in last year's Apple Cup, he's going to roast you. Like,
well, and you gotta stay somehow, some way. Yeah, somehow, some way on defense, you got to stay away from the explosives. Like that's got to be job number one. You know, if they pick you apart, you know, going down the field, then they pick you apart. But you know, what you can't have is the 40-yard, the 50-yard, the 60-yard touchdowns, which is when they're rolling, that's what they're doing. So you just somehow, some way, you got to make sure that you don't have that stuff. You got to make sure you play smart. You got to you just can't have mistakes. And I know that that's sort of cliche, but you know, when you are playing a team that is, you know, clearly better than you, you know, you can't make, you know, plays that, you know, make that strip away your opportunity to win, right? Like you just can't have big net negative plays in one way or another, whether that's giving up a big play or whether that's, you know, turning the ball over on offense or, you know, giving up a big sack in a critical moment or taking a penalty in a critical moment, you know, something like that. I don't know. It's going to take a perfect game, you know, to win the game, but it's going to take something approximating that.
But
you know,
and
to
by
be
the way,
honest.
you know, I say like hitting Penix, but like you're not going to sack him. Like it's just UW has given up 7 sacks this year.
Yeah, he doesn't take sacks. He gets rid of the ball.
Yeah, he gets rid of the ball.
But you just got to make him uncomfortable. You make him uncomfortable, he'll get rid of the ball.
He is not Shedeur Sanders. He's not gonna.
No,
he's not gonna sit there and let you hit him.
No, he's not. But you make him uncomfortable, he will get inaccurate if you make him uncomfortable. And wild, that's got to be the key.
You're talking about he could beat you with his legs, and he has 3 touchdowns this year rushing. But if you take out the sacks, he has 16 rush attempts.
Interesting.
All year.
Maybe I've just watched him at like really like coincidental times where I've seen him, you know, pick up a big first down with his legs, and I'm like, fuck, you know. So it's possible. It's possible. I haven't watched them.
Assuming he absorbed all of the sacks, 7 sacks for 45 yards, and then he has 23 carries for -5 yards. So take out the sacks, 16 carries for 40 yards. So honestly, I think they probably tell him not to run because he has such a
history of injury. Yeah,
they're just like, no, just throw it away.
Yeah,
just throw it away.
Just throw it away.
Like, or just throw it up to a Dunze or something. Like, just hope for the best. You know,
one of the monsters that he's got running around out there.
Yeah. But yeah, who even knows if he's taken all 7 of those sacks too? They've Dylan Morris has 14 attempts this year. He may have taken one. Who knows?
Yep. Who knows?
Yeah, but yeah, I wouldn't put money on. I mean, if the Vegas over under on sacks was 1, it'd be hard to even like.
Yeah, I'd probably take.
I don't even know. Yeah, I'd
probably take the under.
Or if it was a half, I'd take the under.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, which man. We're gonna need some weirdness. We're gonna need some weird shit to win.
We're gonna weirdness
need
would be
to
good.
Play like shit.
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, they've done enough. Honestly, they've done enough. You know, fucking around and not found out that I don't know. Maybe they'll think they can fuck around and maybe they'll find out. I don't know. It's possible. Anything's
Yeah, that'd be
possible,
great.
right? Yeah.
Anything is possible. Kevin Durant.
Woo! Yeah.
All right. Football. We footballed. Jeff, let's talk about beer and then we'll get into basketball.
Okay.
I want to hear.
You want me to talk about my beer first?
I want to hear, what are you drinking?
I am drinking Fresh Catch Fresh Hop IPA by Block 15, which of all of the fresh hop beers I've had, this one most definitely has the very best can artwork for sure. It's got as befitting a Fresh Catch moniker. It's got a.
Did you buy all these beers once and you've just?
Yeah, I just haven't drank them all. Yeah, I just haven't drank them all. This beer's like, let's see, it was canned on September 11th. Probably not as fresh as it should be. So anyway, yeah, it's got a great, it's got a salmon, just coming out of the stream and an eagle flying overhead, sort of like eyeing the salmon. So that's good. It says this unimaginably fresh hopped IPA was brewed with newly harvested Centennial picked up from Crosby Hop Farm. The result is a bold, resinous trophy catch bursting with ripe orange and pine resin flavors. Very West Coasty IPA. Still delicious, even though maybe it's not as fresh as it should be. Maybe should have been drank a month ago.
Yeah, how dare you?
How dare I? I'm not a real beer drinker, Craig.
Yeah.
A real beer drinker would not have engaged in this sort of sacrilege.
Yeah. Damn it, Jeff.
What about you, man? You're not drinking tea tonight, right?
I'm not.
No more tea.
I kind of went way in the other direction. Sometimes I have lighter beers, or like IPAs or whatever that are in my fridge that I'll just grab one of those and all I had was like Wayfinder and Russian River and breweries that I've done before multiple times. Now this is a brewery that I have done before, I'm pretty sure. But it is I will say easily, probably, I wouldn't say easily, but almost certainly the most expensive beer I've ever had on the show, and then also shows a change in my mentality with my beers in the cellar, where I always felt like I had to share certain ones with other people. Where now I'm just like, fuck it, I just gotta drink these fucking beers. But I went down to the cellar. I wanted a smaller format. I'm not gonna take down a 22 ounce on my own of like a barrel aged stout or whatever. So I'm just pulling beers out of boxes, looking at them, and then this one was too fucking perfect, and it's also a legendary beer, but just the name is too goddamn perfect, and I could not resist. And it is Anchorage Brewing Company, A Deal with the Devil.
That is perfect.
Now, Jeff, you have had a version of this is 2022 Anchorage Brewing Company Deal with the Devil double oaked, which means they aged it in Heaven Hill bourbon barrels, and then they transferred that into Woodford Reserve double oaked barrels. So they actually double barreled it. They aged it in two different barrels.
Okay.
And that's part of the reason why it's so expensive, because they lose in the process.
Yeah.
So this is a legendary barley wine, the Deal with the Devil series out of Anchorage. It comes in at a whopping 17%.
Woof.
So yeah, definitely a big difference from last week when I was drinking chamomile tea.
Yeah.
Uncaffeinated tea.
That's a pretty big difference.
But Jeff, you have had an iteration of this, actually a fancier version of this at my wedding. That was triple oaked, A Deal with the Devil.
Oh, Goodness mercy.
That means
was that when we
transferred
were sharing beers upstairs in your room?
Yeah,
before the wedding?
with the groomsmen. Yes, that was the groomsmen
Oh,
beers.
that was so great.
Yeah. So yeah, that was groomsmen beers. This one not quite as much as that one, but Anchorage has because people started trading this beer for so much, they just started being like, "Hey, we'll just charge that price for it and see if people pay for it." And well, me a year and a half ago would. Me now would. So thank you, idiot Craig, a year and a half ago, buying this beer for Craig today,
Well,
so he could pull it out.
It's worth it right now. It's definitely perfect right now.
A deal with the devil.
Yeah.
And if you can't get that connection, come on. But yeah, it is fucking delicious. It is so good. It is, yeah, like it's amazing. Like it's 17%, but it's not hot. Like there's no like burn to it. I mean, there's a little bit, but like it's obviously very sweet.
Yep.
But like it's not overly sweet and it's not overly thick. Like it's still, you could drink it, because I've almost taken it down while we were like, I think I got like 3 ounces left maybe of the 13-ounce bottle. I might actually get to the Freem. I joke. I was like, "You idiot! You're not going to drink this Freem Pilsner." Because and I probably shouldn't. But hey, I don't work tomorrow.
Yeah.
We're recording on Wednesday night, y'all.
Yeah. We made sure to get it in tonight so y'all could listen on your drives tomorrow.
To any WSU students listening, and Emma, I hope you had fun hanging out with your old high school friends at the bar tonight. Or if you remember one time, Jeff, when we went and celebrated a man's birthday by getting delicious steaks. Oh no, wait, you weren't there for that one. We went a different time.
No?
Never mind.
Okay.
My bad. That was when we were celebrating me getting a new job. That's right.
Yes.
But one time I did do that. But it was not the same place. Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, so Deal with the Devil. Like you cannot go and buy this. Actually, you might at some places. They might have this year's version at Peaks and Pints this Friday. It'll be very expensive. Don't do it.
Don't do
No,
it.
it's
Save
not
yourself.
worth the price. It's amazing. It's not worth the price. It's amazing though. And I actually have so the third batch of this, they released 5 variants of it, and they put it in an oak box, and they only sold them up at the brewery, and they sold like 300 some of them. And our friends Brad and Brian actually went up and waited outside the brewery and got the boxes. And I have actually enjoyed Brad's box with him in the middle of the night when he texted me at like 10 p.m. asked if I wanted to come over, and we did. We crushed one of those boxes, 5 of these bad boys. And then I actually won a box, one of those boxes, during the Super Bowl, the Eagles Patriots Super Bowl. I was in one of my like barley wine Facebook groups. I was in a Super Bowl Squares, and I won this box, which like retail was $300, and aftermarket way more. But I bought like 2 squares, so I got it for like $50, and I won it on the halftime score because I had 2-0. And if you remember, the Phillies did the Philadelphia did the Philly special. And they got the touchdown, and they got the 2-point conversion.
Yep.
Or whatever it was. I don't remember. It was weird, but it was really weird. It was 22-20, I think. It was just an insanely stupid number.
Yep.
Like 2-0 is such a crazy one to hit, and
Yes,
I was so excited. And I had gotten Amanda hype. Like I jumped around like the same as like WSU game-winning shot, big touchdown, whatever. I was jumping all over. And I still have it. That's 2017 version. I still have that in my cellar. It's 6 years old now, but it's 17%. I think it's holding up just fine. It's just various different barrel treatments on the barley wine. But Anyway, so a deal with the devil. That's how I feel about all of this.
Yes.
So nothing was better. Actually, funny thing, I texted Brad O'Brien like, hey, I got this perfect beer, and Brad guessed it right away.
Yeah.
So yeah. But it's very delicious, and I'm a little buzzed now. So congrats, everyone.
Nice.
But yeah, Jeff, beer, basketball.
Go hand in hand.
The men's team went out to Connecticut and played 2 games. One against a very good Mississippi State team, and one against a not very good Rhode Island team. And
yeah,
the first game, I think, went about what I think you and I might have expected. It was kind of a
to
bummer
be honest,
for
me, it went a little better than I expected. Like,
yeah, I would say
I was fearful it was going to go very badly.
I would say the final score is around what I expected, maybe like 15. But that was weird because they kind of pulled away at the end to make it like
yeah,
that.
I mean,
but they really played really well for much of that game.
Yeah, they were, Ken Pom will break the score into quarters, which obviously they don't play quarters like the women do, but it can be sort of like a useful little, kind of breakdown into looking at game flow to some degree. And, it was first 10 minutes, it was 17-16, so they hung with them there. And, so, at the end of the halves were very bad to WSU, both halves. They were kind of right there. And then they, Mississippi State made a little run, both at the end of the first half and the end of the game, which was very frustrating and very unfortunate, but overall, they were kind of like, they were within touching distance the whole way. And that to me,
they just couldn't get, they couldn't string together like 3 buckets. Like that was, and that's
and so much of that is Mississippi State's defense. Yeah. So I went into the game thinking, okay, we're going to learn a fair amount about this team right now. And let's kind of see. And there was a part of me that was, not worried, but I was like, yeah, it's a real possibility they could go in there and just crap the bed and look horrendous. And they didn't at all. And Mississippi State, I think, is a pretty good team. There's every reason to think Mississippi State's pretty good, and to, sort of be right there the whole way.
They're 17th on KenPom now.
Yeah. So, and they are, the other thing is with them, they are extremely senior heavy. 4 of their 5 starters are seniors and the other starters are juniors. So, loads of experience on the team. Really well coached. Chris Jan's a really good coach. So, you just kind of think, all right, well, this is a good measuring stick. And I think, more or less they measured up. They didn't look overwhelmed. Well, they didn't look outclassed. They just came up short.
Well, and you and I were tracking this in the first half, at least. WC switched to his zone at one point in the first half for 4 possessions.
Yes.
And what was it? 7 or 3 possessions? 7 points.
Yeah, 7 points in 3 possessions. 4. Yeah, it was bad. I think it was 7 points in 4 possessions in the end, and the one. So they scored buckets on 3 possessions, and then they had a turnover on the 4th possession. I think it was something like that. So, but it was bad.
7 points in 4 possessions is, if you take that out, Mississippi State's like 1 point per possession for the game.
Yep.
Like when WSU was playing man against Mississippi State, they're like under 1.
Yep.
And a lot. So some of this is driven by personnel, and we know they like to go when they have the big guards, and when Jabe Mullins is in the game, they play the zone. But it's just so frustrating. Like we'll never stop hammering it. We know that has been ineffective for years, and they keep rolling it out, and it drives me crazy. Like, yeah, just because they beat you to the rim on like 2 possessions, it's not the end of the world. When they hadn't for 20 possessions, like it, but the zone is just like, it's not just that we hate zone. They're not good at it. Like, they're not good at it. Like, teams
they were. I will say
their zone offense.
It definitely worked against Rhode Island. It was really good against. You didn't watch that game. It was really good against Rhode Island. Now that's probably largely because Rhode Island sucks, but still, yeah. Mississippi State they shredded
fine against them.
Yeah, probably.
But like, Mississippi State made it look like nothing. And then I'll say another thing that frustrated me: that run that they pulled out to like 36-30 at half, somewhere around there.
Yep.
There was a missed goaltending call, and then Mississippi State scores. So that could have been a 2-point game.
That led to a fast break. It led to a fast break.
Yeah, and we had been very good in half-court defense.
Yep.
So you would have been scoring a bucket and then having your best defense out there for the last possession. They get a bucket suddenly. Yeah. So that's like a 4-point swing. And we really could not pull closer from that.
No.
Like, we could not get it within a possession, really.
I think what hurt the most, the thing that kept them close early on, was the offensive rebounding. Man, they came out with their hair on fire early in the game, getting lots of offensive rebounds, and then it just disappeared. They end up finishing the game 19% offensive rebound. Like, you cannot, if you're going to play bigs as much as we do, you can't only rebound 19% of your misses. Like that's got to be closer to like 30 to 35.
Yeah, they took. It was crazy in the first 5 minutes how many they were getting, and then after that, it completely shut.
How it was like nothing. Yeah. So but it, like I said, it was one of those games where you go, look, if you win it, it's incredible. If you lose it, it's like, well, you're sort of expect to lose it. But I think Smith learned a lot about the team. I think we learned a lot about the team, and I think, I think it was a good experience for them to have. Miles Rice had a particularly rough game, at least in terms of turnovers, which really just sort of nuked his efficiency. But he looked like, everything that you would want in other ways.
Like, these are very good athletes defending him, and he can get to the rim. Like,
he was still getting to the rim. He went 6 of 12 on twos. Like, that's like, I don't know when the last time was we had a point guard go 6 of 12 on twos, mostly getting to the rim. I know he'll occasionally pull up for a mid-range jumper, but he had no problem getting to the rim at times. So yeah, I mean, I think all in all, a good thing. And then, beating Rhode Island on the next day was, exactly what you would want to see. Yeah, they controlled the game. They hammered them for the most part. They had some issues containing penetration in the first half. They adjusted to the zone. Rhode Island looked like they'd never seen a zone before in their life, which cool, And then it was, Archie Miller, I guess, not a zone offense coacher guy. So
they don't. Well, I mean, if Archie's like his brother, they would dare play a single in practice. They're not playing a single possession of zone.
Yep. So we looked good in that zone. We rebounded well out of the zone. It was a really good performance. It's exactly what you would hope that the team would do against a team that theoretically they should be overmatched against. And the big thing was they finished super strong. Again, kind of looking at quarters, they outscored Rhode Island 21-10 over the final 10 minutes. And that was really the difference in the game. You get they were leading pretty much the whole way, particularly, kind of early in the second half, they started to separate, just a little bit. And so, yeah, feel good about that one as well. Isaac Jones, I feel like we should talk about Isaac Jones, man. He is, he's a bucket, dude. And the other thing about him is he is way more athletic than I thought we were getting. I I'll admit, I didn't have much knowledge of him before he came. So I just sort of made some assumptions based on the fact that he was coming from Idaho, which was probably stupid on my part. Yeah, he's not super tall. He's 6'9". But he's an athletic dude,
is what's impressive, man. Like,
yeah,
the lift he
6'9",
has
245. Yeah, he can get off the floor. Long arms. Yeah, just a really nice player. And as they, I think as they learn how to play together, which is, I think kind of the biggest thing that you see right now, they don't, they just haven't played together that much. And, it seems like they're starting to figure out how different guys move around the ball, move off the ball, particularly Jones, getting him the ball in spots where he can score, which, I mean, there are lots of spots he can score from, but just making sure to feed him, which is something that maybe we haven't done quite enough of. And I think that'll be a thing that, and that'll make a difference.
There's definitely opportunity with both Jones and Clough's passing ability to do some high-low with the bigs.
Yep.
Because both of them are skilled passers, and both of them have great post moves.
Yep.
And I think both can hit a 16-footer.
Yeah.
So I think like we'll see that develop over the course of the season, especially as this team very much the identity, unlike any of the other Kyle Smith teams we had, is very much in the paint. Like,
yeah,
the
it's
identity
wild.
of this team is in the paint. Like,
yeah,
WSU
they made
just
64% of their twos against Rhode Island. 47 twos, by the way.
Went 3 of 17 from 3 and won by 21 points.
21
Scored
points.
1.2 points per possession.
Yeah. Which,
they only went 9 of 60 from the line. Like, it's just...
Yeah. Well, it's created an interesting dynamic with the rotation. Kamani Huinsu has essentially supplanted Jabe Mullins in the rotation. Yeah. Jabe has been relegated to garbage time, basically. He's played a little bit here and there, but he just, it's kind of wild, for a guy who was, for a pretty good stretch last year, so important to the offense. He is just on the outside looking in right now. He's playing less than 10 minutes a game at the moment. He played 6 against Rhode Island. I think he played
6 against Mississippi State.
6 against Mississippi State. Yeah. So, and it's honestly, it's not hard to see why. He struggles as a defender. And then on offense, the ball is kind of sticky in his hands. Like the offense just doesn't quite flow as well. And if he's not, draining a bunch of threes, it's kind of hard to see the value. Although I will say against Rhode Island, he did have 2 steals. I'll give him credit for the 2 steals. He was a bit better on defense than what he has been, at least in terms of contributing that. But it's really interesting. Huinsu, I know, is a guy that you and I have really high hopes for. The physical tools are just so tantalizing with him, and he played a really good game against Rhode Island. So hopefully that's a sign of things to come from him, because if he's an equalizer type guy, like he's a guy who helps you match up with other teams athletically in a way that a lot of other guys on our roster just can't. And so when he's doing what he did in that game, where he was sort of all over the place, getting to the rim, facilitating, he had a couple of assists, a few rebounds, 13 points. He even hit a 3, which he banked in, but we'll just not mention that. Although I mentioned that, because he does have a tendency to get, over his skis a little bit when he starts having some success. But yeah, if he keeps developing, that's an exciting dimension added to the team. Jabe, I just don't know where he fits, man. I don't know where he fits. Well, especially when you're, go ahead.
I'm going to say, add on top of Kamani, it is Jalen Wells.
Yep.
And
finally back.
That's
finally
guy,
there. Heard a lot
finally
about
there,
him.
and that's another guy that's playing the same positions that Jabe would fill. And put that 2, 3, 4 area.
Yep.
And so he is, and it's very clear that they want him to shoot when he comes in. The shots haven't fallen yet, but the shot looks good. And I think he's gonna have a breakout game coming up soon.
I mean, he played 20 minutes against Rhode Island.
Yeah.
29% possession usage, right? So that's good. 1 of 5 from 3. You know, he's like he shot 7 shots and had 8 free throw attempts, 7 rebounds, boards. 1 assist, no turnovers. That's a pretty good damn run in 20 minutes.
And that's the most he's played all year, and I expect him to play that pretty consistently.
Yeah.
And from what we've heard, like they believe he's, you know, we were hearing that potentially he could start over Yaki before the season, and you're looking, Yaki played 23 and he played 20. Yaki had a rough weekend, not kind of, you know, he started so well, but it's kind of like, okay, he's still that guy that can kind of disappear, which is a bummer. We were hoping that maybe he had overcome that. But his you know, he was 1 of 4 from 3 on Sunday, and but I'm excited for what Jalen Wells when Jalen Wells gets going.
Yeah,
this could potentially this could turn into just looking at him playing that 20. This is probably the best game they played all year. I know it was against a not very good team, but this is a game where Ken Palm expected them to win by like 8. And they won by 21.
Yep.
And that's why they shot up to to like 70 in the rankings, where they had just been literally like stuck at 84 like all year. Because they had just like played in that rate. Like they had played like the 84th best team all year. But they finally played a game where they looked like a better team.
Yeah.
And maybe Jalen Wells is part of that. And hopefully he is. And I would expect him to play a lot of minutes, and I know that 3 is going to fall. There's just no way a shot looks like that, and the guy shoots with confidence like that he is not a shooter. There's no way. And plus, we know he, at least in D2, he like filled it up. So he's a scorer. Shots.
You watch him; he's a scorer. Like you can just tell, like looking at certain guys, they are scorers. They hunt their shots. They're looking to score. He definitely looks like that. Maybe more than. I don't know. Maybe Isaac Jones, the only other guy on the roster that I think like actually looks like he's, sort of hunting for that. So yeah, he's like in this kind of the same boat as Kamani. Like it's, if he turns into something, like really turns into something, that's a difference maker. So, I don't know where the ceiling of this team is. And we're probably not going to find out for a while because they've got a whole bunch of games now coming up against teams in the low 100s and 200s. All of them at home. So it's a pretty typical WSU non-conference schedule from here on out. The rest of the way, they won't really get another test until they play Boise State on the 21st.
Boise State.
Yeah. Santa Clara will be a decent test. Boise State's actually proven to maybe be not as good as we thought heading into the year, but so
why are they,
we'll find out more then.
Why are they playing Santa Clara and Phoenix?
I don't know. Probably some kind of maybe there's a tournament there. Maybe there's another game besides just that one. I don't know.
Yeah, it's got to be, right?
I don't know the answer to that. Yeah, maybe. It's
at
the end of finals
NIT
week.
Showdown,
it looks like I think
the pre-NIT showdown, NIT perennials, Santa Clara and WSU.
So important. But yeah, so they'll we got a little ways. They've got some more time to work out rotation. Got some more time to get used to each other, and then it'll be off and running. And Pac-12. There's a few bad teams, but it's mostly top 50 teams after that. So. It's going to be a bit of a gauntlet this year, and it'll be good to rack up, theoretically a whole bunch of wins, heading into conference play for the most part. So, maybe we make a trip back to that NIT. Cross our fingers.
Honestly, like, just if you think about it, like, this is the WSU team in the last 3 years that we've had the lowest expectations for.
Yeah.
And
yeah, that's accurate.
They're still 73rd on KenPom.
I know. It's so crazy. It's absolutely insane. Like, we're just like, yeah, I mean, they'll be pretty
Like,
good, but yeah, And it's like, they are so, God.
But like, yeah,
they are orders of magnitude better than anything Ernie Kent rolled out. It's incredible.
Well, we've talked about it. So KenPom has a program rank, which has your entire history of when he tracks, which goes back to 1997. And so where your program ranks, and when Ernie Kent was fired, I think WSU was like 101 or something like that. They were definitely around 100. And now the program rank is 89. So however you feel about they haven't went to a tournament, whatever, I know that's disappointing, especially the last 2 years. But Smith is putting out like competitive teams like with such consistency that like WSU has rarely had. And honestly, if Smith was coaching here in an era where the transfer portal didn't exist, like I don't know, like he probably could have kept a team or one of these teams together and maybe had a little bit more of a run.
Well, you just look at last year, right? Like Justin Powell was a transfer in, but you had TJ Bamba, DJ Rodman, and Muhammad Gay, and it's like, okay, so even if
you had
you're
Bamba
like, okay,
and Rodman on this team right now, that would
on this team, on this team, Anyway, whatever. I mean, it's neither here nor there because it is what it is. But yeah, it's to your original point. The fact that they could lose as much as they lost and still be, coming into the year ranked in the 80s. It's pretty remarkable.
And we're looking at like it's unlikely that they're a tournament team, but we could at least say like, well, if Jalen Wells turns out to be good, if we just get some improvement from, like Yaki and Winsu, and if Yosefu actually shoots 38% from three, maybe this is like a top 60, top 50 team. Who knows when they start coming together? Because we've seen these Kyle Smith teams at the end of the year, like put it together and go on runs, and just so you got to hope that, they don't fuck it up in the non-conference. They could pile up some wins, hopefully. And I think
I mean, don't lose to one of these teams coming up. That's the biggie, right? You've got
which are things they have done in the past. They have.
You got Utah Tech, Eastern Washington, Portland State, UC Riverside, and Grambling, right? Those are your next 5 games. All at
aside from UC Riverside, Grambling, but like Utah Tech, Eastern, Portland State, those are games where if you're fucking around, you will find out. Like they're good. They're bad, but they're not like hopelessly terrible bad.
I mean, those are all 80% plus on KenPom though. Like you should win them. You should win them handily. So hopefully they do that. Don't, stub their toes. And then, we do the Santa Clara Boise State and really kind of get a sense of where we're at right before Christmas.
And then you get Utah and Colorado on the road, which we love that road.
Woo! Yeah, that'll be starting 0-2 is going to be a great way to start the Pac-12 season. Yeah, we beg the Pac-12, please don't make us be at home on that weekend. Yes.
Okay. Go on the hardest road trip in the conference.
You can do the hardest road trip that exists. For sure.
In college basketball. Like it's
Yep.
Oh man, good luck Big 12 teams in the future.
Yeah. Enjoy.
But switch to the women's team. They had which I think since we last talked, they've played one game. I think we recorded after they played Montana. They smacked around Prairie View A&M, which we know at Prairie View that ain't no guarantee.
Nope.
Men's team knows that. But yeah, it didn't matter who they were playing, just dominant. I watched probably the last 15 minutes of it or so. Yeah, like they just totally crushed them. No chance. So now they're already there, and it's nice. They went straight from there to Cancun, so they've got to enjoy some nice like beach days, pool days, which they 100% deserve. But they're playing the biggest game of the 3 in Cancun is Maryland, who hilariously, I don't know why WSU is doing this. It's so funny. Like Maryland was ranked and then they lost, so they're no longer ranked. They are the 26th team in the rankings, so they're like one outside of it. So WSU is it's on their official schedule, and they've put it out on social, and people are like, what the fuck does this mean? They put RV in front of Maryland.
Yes.
So receiving votes.
Creative marketing. I love it.
Creative marketing. I'm looking at the schedule right now. It says RV Maryland. Yeah. So it is like 23 versus 26. So it's like, in terms of AP rankings, it's a real tight game. And this is a big game. Like this is their big, this and Gonzaga. Yeah. This is their big non-conference game. This neutral site game against Maryland. So this game it's on Thanksgiving, 8 a.m. You got to pay for Flow Hoops tomorrow, 8 a.m. Fuck, I'm drinking the 17% beer.
I'll pass.
10:30.
I'll follow it on Stat Broadcast.
I think I might pay for it. You know.
Oh,
because I think I want to watch I think I want to watch the games on Friday and Saturday. I don't know.
You're a better fan than me, my friend.
I got if you hang around on the side for a while, it gives you a 15% coupon. So
Ooh. Where you go there and then go away and then come back and then they're like,
yeah.
Go.
I didn't complete the transaction, but that brought it down to like 25 for a month. So I was like $8 a game basically.
Yeah.
But I don't know. We'll see. I really want to see this Maryland game though, but I don't know if I want to get up that early. I mean, my kids are going to wake me up that early, so whatever, I'll be up that early. But, yeah, so big weekend for them, especially that first game. But if they could come out of that with 3 wins, if they beat Maryland and they could take care of business against UMass and Green Bay, that would push them to 8-0, which would be sick.
Yeah,
and then they're playing a bunch of teams they should beat up until. I mean, but goddamn, this team playing at Missoula, at Prairie View, they're playing at South Dakota State. What are we doing to these? Why can't they just have the UW home schedule where they never leave?
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah. Well, you gotta get battle tested, right?
So I guess they play UW at home in that early season Pac-12 game. And then they have Houston at home and they go at Auburn on December 20th. So they're definitely hunting, we have a good team. We're going to play some tough games type scenario here. Yeah. Which worked out really well for the volleyball team. So hopefully it works out really well for the women's basketball team. Yes, but they're, it was nice. Charlize had a nice shooting day against Prairie View. She hasn't really had one all year. They're definitely going to need her to have a game against Maryland to win. I mean, I say definitely, but who knows? Maybe they don't. They got the deepest team they've had since Charlize has showed up. But yeah. So by the time you're listening to this, they've already played, and hopefully they've won. Yeah. Volleyball. Just earlier today, big win. Arizona State, number 18, pulled it out in 5 sets. They lost the 4th set. They could have put it away, but Arizona State got out to a big lead. WSU pulled it back. almost evened it up, but couldn't quite do it. Lost 25-23, and then was able to take over in the fifth set. Even though it did not seem like they were playing their best, not their best defensive effort, and certainly their service errors were a nightmare. But they pulled it together
too.
Yeah, like
because you're just like, oh,
they
give away a point.
A lot of but yeah, and then they went down to Colorado and Utah this week and swept both of them. So that that maybe that USC match was a turning point, got them out of their lull, and now go fucking beat UW on Friday. Yeah, do that.
Yeah,
and there'll be a lot of Cougs there.
Yeah,
I know a lot of Cougs that are going. Are you going, Jeff?
That, you know what? I was planning on it, but now we are having Friendsgiving at my house. So we are, but there will be lots of Cougs here. Emma will be here. Her parents will be here. So we will have the game on, during Friendsgiving. So we'll cheer. We'll cheer loudly.
Going to the game. Yeah. So I'll,
I don't know.
Yeah, it's my wife's birthday, and her ideal birthday was not going to a volleyball game at UW.
No? Yeah.
I know it surprises you knowing Amanda.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're shocked by this news.
Totally. 100%. Absolutely shocked.
Yeah. But yeah, I think they'll whoop them, and then
I think so too.
Head in, and I think regardless of what happens on Friday, but I think they're set up to host I think the Arizona State win confirmed it. I think they're set up to host the first round and and hopefully second round. They'll host the first and second round in Pullman, and which they 100% deserve with the gauntlet of a schedule they went through this year, and they're sitting at 23-7, which is pretty sick. So just beat the shit out of UW like you did last year, like you did earlier this season, and let's host some NCAA tournament. All right, Jeff. Anything else? I think we've covered it all.
I think we covered it, man.
Yeah, and I am almost through this beer, so I'm feeling pretty good.
I bet you are.
Yeah, so socials, the Craig Powers on Twitter, and I don't know. That's all that matters. I don't really post on much anything else. And then Jeff is Newscoog on Twitter, and we are Podcast versus Everyone at Substack. Was that or .substack.com?
Yeah. Podcast versus Everyone.substack.com.
And Jeff wrote, and you should subscribe because you should read his I actually wrote something. It was long.
I do have, I have some ideas too about a basketball thing that I'm going to write. So,
Ooh.
We call that a teaser.
So not only
maybe if y'all say nice things, you might get Craig to write something too.
Yeah. Probably not. But yeah.
Probably not.
You want me to write about digital business?
There you go.
And you pay me like I get paid to write about digital business. I will do that. Yeah. But anyway, so yeah, subscribe to the Substack because Jeff's.
Yep.
As I say this as of course I'm his friend and one of his biggest cheerleaders, but it was a good read. And if you are like us and you didn't feel great about that deal with the devil, go ahead and gives Jeff's article a read.
Yeah.
But you have to subscribe to the Substack to do that. So do that.
Okay.
All right. Podcast versus everyone, substack.com. Jeff, so with that, Apple Cup week, I just have to say, go fucking Cougs.
Go fucking Cougs, Craig. Black Lives Matter.
Black Lives Matter.
Get vaccinated.